I don't need some broke-ass janitor watching me like a damn stray dog.
Gregory Caldwell didn't even look up. Tears on his face. $40 million. Gone. Stolen. Sitting alone in an empty office with a whiskey he couldn't even lift. Aaron Brooks stood in the doorway, mop in hand.
Sir, is there anything I can...
Boy, you can barely afford the shoes you're standing in. Get back to your bucket.
Aaron didn't leave. He looked past Gregory, straight at the documents on the desk. His eyes caught something no one in this building had seen for 18 months. Then he said 3 words. Gregory froze, stared at this janitor like he was seeing a ghost. 3 words from a man who pushed a mop for a living, and those 3 words saved a billionaire's entire empire from a $40 million betrayal. Man, you gotta hear how this whole thing started. Let me take you back. 9:47 p.m., a Tuesday night in late October. Manhattan was doing what Manhattan always does, glowing like it never sleeps. 40 floors up, the Caldwell Tower cut through the skyline like a glass knife. The kind of building where the elevator alone costs more than most people's apartments. Down at street level, around the back of the building, there was a service entrance. No marble here, no chandelier, just a gray metal door with a badge scanner and a flickering light above it that nobody ever bothered to fix. Aaron Brooks swiped his badge at 9:47 on the dot, same time every night, 11 years straight. The scanner beeped. The door clicked open. The cold October air followed him inside. He walked down a concrete hallway to the basement locker room. The fluorescent lights hummed that low, tired hum. The room smelled like industrial soap and old coffee. 4 metal lockers lined the wall. Aaron opened the second one. Inside, hanging on a hook, his navy coveralls, pressed and clean. He put them on the same way he always did. Left leg first, right leg. Zip up the front. On the inside of his locker door, there was a faded photograph. A younger Aaron, maybe 30 years old, wearing a sharp gray suit, shaking hands with someone at a graduation ceremony. Howard University. MBA. Class of '98. Right next to the photo, taped to the metal, a yellowed newspaper clipping. A small article about a black-owned accounting firm that closed its doors in 2009. The firm's name was Brooks and Associates. Aaron looked at that photo every night. Never said a word about it to anyone. He grabbed his cleaning cart, loaded up the spray bottles, the rags, the trash bags, slipped a worn paperback into his back pocket. The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. The spine was cracked, pages dog-eared. He'd read it maybe 15 times. Then he headed for the service elevator. See, Aaron knew this building better than anyone alive. Better than the security guards, better than the executives. 11 years of cleaning every floor, every office, every bathroom. You learn things. He knew that the marketing team on the 12th floor always left pizza boxes on their desks on Fridays. He knew that the legal department on 22 shredded more documents than any other floor. He knew which executives said good evening when he passed, and which ones looked straight through him like he was part of the wall. Most of them looked through him. That was fine. Aaron didn't need to be seen. He had his routine, his rhythm. Mop the lobby, vacuum the hallways, empty the trash, wipe down the glass. Move floor by floor, bottom to top, ending on the 40th. The 40th floor, the executive suite. That's where the corner office was. The big one. Gregory Caldwell's office. Now let me tell you about Gregory Caldwell. 52 years old, self-made billionaire, built Caldwell Enterprises from a single real estate deal in the Bronx into a $2.3 billion commercial empire. Office towers, shopping centers, luxury developments. The man's name was on buildings across 6 states. But tonight, none of that mattered. Tonight, Gregory Caldwell was broken. He sat behind his mahogany desk in the dark. The only light was the blue glow from his laptop screen. His tie was loose. His jacket was on the floor. There was a glass of Macallan 25 on the desk, poured 3 hours ago, still full. He'd been staring at a forensic audit report. 62 pages. And every page said the same thing. $40 million had been drained from Caldwell Enterprises over the past 18 months. Siphoned through a web of shell companies with names that didn't exist 6 months before the money started moving. His board of directors had called an emergency meeting for 8 a.m. tomorrow. 3 major investors were already threatening to pull out. The company's stock had dropped 11% after someone leaked the rumor to the press. And the worst part? Gregory thought he knew who did it. Spencer Whitfield, his CFO, his right-hand man for 8 years, had discovered the discrepancies 2 months ago and pointed the finger straight at Jamal Saunders. 26 years old, black kid from the Bronx, junior financial analyst. Spencer fired him on the spot. Gregory believed every word of it. Now, sitting in that dark office with tears drying on his face, he wasn't sure he believed anything anymore. Aaron rolled his cleaning cart out of the service elevator on the 40th floor around 11:15 p.m. The hallway was dead quiet. That expensive kind of quiet. Thick carpet, soundproof walls, the hum of central air conditioning whispering through the vents. He started his routine. Trash cans first, then the glass conference room walls, then the bathrooms. He worked his way down the hall, office by office, moving slow and steady, like he always did. But when he turned the corner toward Gregory's office, he stopped. The light was on. Not the overhead lights, just the blue glow leaking through the glass door. Aaron had cleaned this floor almost 4,000 nights. He knew Gregory's patterns. The man was usually gone by 7:30, home to his penthouse on the Upper East Side, never stayed past 8. Something was wrong. Aaron parked his cart against the wall, walked to the door, knocked twice, soft. No answer. He knocked again. "Mr. Caldwell? It's Aaron, cleaning crew. Just checking if you need anything before
I said get the hell out!
Gregory's voice came from deep inside the dark office. Raw, hoarse, like he'd been talking to himself for hours, or not talking at all. Aaron should have walked away. That's what 11 years of being invisible had taught him. Don't ask questions, don't linger, don't make yourself a problem. Just clean and go. But something in that voice, something cracked and desperate, made him push the door open a few inches. The smell hit him first. Whiskey, the sharp, peaty kind. Then he saw Gregory, hunched over his desk, papers everywhere. Not the neat stacks Gregory usually kept. These were scattered, some on the floor. A forensic audit report with red circles and handwritten notes in the margins. "Sir, I'm sorry, I just heard—" "You heard what? That I'm finished?" Gregory laughed, bitter, hollow. $40 million. Gone. And I'm sitting here like an idiot trying to figure out how it happened. Aaron stood in the doorway. He didn't step in, didn't step out. His eyes moved across the desk the way they always did. Quick, automatic. 11 years of cleaning offices. You see everything. Bank statements, love letters, resignation letters, divorce papers. Aaron had seen it all and never said a word. But tonight, his eyes caught something different. The shell company documents were spread across the left side of the desk. Wire transfer authorizations on the right. And in between, a compliance report with signature pages. Aaron's brain did something it hadn't done in 15 years. It went into accountant mode. The signatures on the wire transfers didn't match the authorization codes on the compliance forms. The routing numbers were sequenced wrong, a pattern that any forensic accountant would flag in 5 minutes. But if you weren't looking for it, if you trusted the person who filed those forms, you'd never notice. Aaron noticed. His lips parted. He almost said something right there. Almost. But before he could open his mouth, a voice came from behind him. "What the hell is this?" Spencer Whitfield, standing at the end of the hallway, suit still perfect at 11 p.m., not a wrinkle. His cologne hit the air before his words did. Sharp, expensive, aggressive. Spencer walked toward Aaron with that walk. You know the walk. Chin up, shoulders squared, every step saying, "I own this floor, and you don't." Why is the janitor in the CEO's office unsupervised? Spencer wasn't asking Aaron. He was asking the air. Like Aaron wasn't a person worth speaking to directly. Gregory looked up from his desk. "Spencer, it's fine. He was just—" "It's not fine," Spencer cut him off, pulled out his phone. "This is a restricted floor. We've got confidential documents in every office up here, and this guy," he pointed at Aaron without looking at him, "is standing in the middle of it." Spencer stepped closer to Aaron. Close enough that Aaron could see the tiny veins in Spencer's eyes, could smell the bourbon under the cologne. "You got sticky fingers, mop boy? That what this is?" "I was just checking if Mr. Caldwell needed—" "What Mr. Caldwell needs is for you to get your ass back to the basement where you belong." Spencer pulled his phone up to his ear. "Security? Yeah, 40th floor. I need 2 guards up here. Now." Aaron's chest tightened. Not from fear, from something older, something deeper. That feeling you get when you know exactly what's about to happen, because it's happened before. Gregory stood up from his desk. "Spencer, that's not necessary. He just knocked on my—" "Gregory, sit down." Spencer's voice changed. Harder, like he was the one in charge. "You're not thinking straight tonight. Let me handle this." 2 security guards arrived within 3 minutes, both in black uniforms, both looking uncomfortable. Spencer pointed at Aaron. "Search him." "Excuse me?" Aaron said. "You heard me. Empty your pockets. All of them. You were in an office with classified financial documents. For all I know, you've been in here every night, leaking information." "That's not—" "Empty your pockets." Aaron looked at Gregory. Gregory looked away. That was the moment. That tiny look away. The billionaire couldn't even hold eye contact with the man being humiliated in his doorway. That look away said everything about the distance between these 2 worlds. Aaron reached into his pockets, slowly, one at a time. Left pocket, a ring of keys, his apartment, his locker, nothing else. Right pocket, his phone, a Samsung with a cracked screen. Back pocket, the worn copy of The Intelligent Investor. The book fell to the carpet with a soft thud. One of the security guards picked it up, looked at the cover, raised an eyebrow. Spencer saw it, smirked. "Oh, that's cute. What's next? You gonna tell me you've got an MBA too?" Aaron said nothing. His jaw was tight. His eyes stayed level. Spencer turned to the guards. "Check the cart, too." They checked. Spray bottles, rags, trash bags, a thermos of coffee, nothing else. Spencer wasn't satisfied. He never would be. This was never about documents. This was about a black man standing somewhere Spencer didn't think he should stand. Get him out of here. Service elevator. And I want a report filed. Unauthorized access to a restricted floor.
Aaron picked up his book, put it back in his pocket, straightened his coveralls. He didn't argue, didn't raise his voice, didn't give Spencer the satisfaction. The guards walked him toward the elevator, one on each side, like he was dangerous, like a janitor with a mop and a paperback was a threat to national security. They reached the elevator. The guard pressed the down button. The doors opened. Aaron stepped inside, turned around.
And right before the doors closed, he looked past the guards, past Spencer, straight at Gregory Caldwell, standing at the far end of the hallway. His voice was calm, steady, like a man who had waited 11 years to say something that mattered. Check the signatures, Mr. Caldwell. The routing numbers don't match the authorization codes. The doors closed. Spencer's smirk disappeared. Just for a second, just a flicker. Then it came back. The hell was that about? Gregory didn't answer. He was staring at the elevator doors. The janitor's words were echoing in his skull. Check the signatures. The routing numbers don't match the authorization codes. How would a janitor know what authorization codes were? Spencer clapped his hands together. All right, show's over. Gregory, go home. Get some sleep. I'll handle the board in the morning. He said it like a command, not a suggestion. Gregory nodded slowly. But he didn't leave. He walked back to his office, sat down at his desk, stared at the documents, and for the first time in 18 months, he started looking at them with new eyes. Gregory didn't go home. He loosened his tie, rolled up his sleeves, pulled the forensic audit report back to the center of his desk, and started from page 1. The office was dead silent. Just the hum of the air conditioning and the soft click of his pen against the desk. Outside the window, Manhattan glittered like nothing was wrong. Taxis crawled down Fifth Avenue. A siren wailed somewhere far below. Gregory flipped to the wire transfer authorizations. Page 14. The first shell company, Apex Meridian Holdings, registered in Delaware 6 weeks before the first transfer. He'd seen this page a dozen times. Spencer had walked him through it personally, pointed at Jamal Saunders' employee ID on the access log and said, "There's your guy." But tonight, Gregory wasn't looking at the access log. He was looking at the signatures. The authorization form required 2 signatures for any wire transfer over $500,000, one from the requesting officer, one from the CFO. Spencer's signature was on every single one. That wasn't unusual. That was his job. But the routing numbers on the wire transfers didn't match the routing numbers on the compliance verification forms. Gregory blinked, pulled both documents side by side, checked again. The wire went to routing number 0261-8834. The compliance form listed 0261-8830, 4 digits off. On one transfer, that could be a typo. On 17 transfers, that's a pattern. Someone had manually overridden the compliance verification system, entered the correct routing numbers into the wire transfer, but filed different numbers with compliance, so the internal audit wouldn't flag a match to the shell companies. Gregory's hands went cold. Only 3 people in the company had the system access level to override compliance verification: Gregory himself, Spencer, and Richard Dunn, the former head of IT who retired 14 months ago. Gregory hadn't touched those forms. Richard was gone. That left Spencer. He pulled up the access logs on his laptop. Every compliance override left a digital fingerprint, an employee ID, a timestamp, and a terminal location. He filtered for overrides in the past 18 months. 17 overrides, all from the same terminal, Spencer's office, all logged between 10 p.m. and midnight, all using Spencer's employee credentials. Gregory pushed back from his desk. His chair rolled until it hit the window. The Manhattan skyline stretched out behind him, but he wasn't seeing any of it. Spencer. 8 years. 8 years Gregory had trusted this man with everything. His finances, his board relationships, his reputation. Spencer was the first person Gregory called when the audit turned up discrepancies. Spencer was the one who said, "I'll get to the bottom of this." Spencer was the one who blamed Jamal. And now Gregory was staring at 17 digital fingerprints that said Spencer was the one who put the money in motion. He felt sick. But that wasn't all. Gregory pulled up Spencer's personnel actions for the last 2 years. There it was. Jamal Saunders. Terminated. Reason? Suspected involvement in financial irregularities. Signed by Spencer Whitfield. No investigation. No hearing. No evidence beyond Spencer's word. A 26-year-old kid from the Bronx. First one in his family to get a finance degree. Hired out of City College with a 3.9 GPA. Worked at Caldwell Enterprises for 11 months before Spencer destroyed his career with one signature. Gregory thought about Aaron's face in the elevator. Calm. No anger. No fear. Just the steady eyes of a man who knew exactly what he was saying. Check the signatures. How long had Aaron known? Meanwhile, 6 floors below, Spencer Whitfield was in his own office with the door locked. The shredder was running, feeding documents in one at a time, slowly, carefully. The machine whined and chewed. Strips of paper curled into the bin like white worms. Spencer had his phone pressed to his ear. The voice on the other end spoke with a clipped European accent. Close the Apex Meridian account by morning. Transfer the balance to the Nicosia account. Use the backup routing. He hung up. Made another call, this one shorter. The Cyprus account too. Move everything to the tertiary. And burn the access credentials. Spencer wasn't panicking. His hands were steady. His voice was flat. He'd planned for this moment. He had exit routes built into exit routes. 3 passports in a safe deposit box in Midtown. A condo in Zurich that no one at Caldwell Enterprises knew about. But first, loose ends. He opened his laptop, logged into the HR system, pulled up Aaron Brooks's employee file. Aaron Brooks, night custodial staff, hired 2015. No disciplinary record, no complaints. Spencer started typing. Termination request. Reason? Unauthorized access to restricted executive floor. Potential corporate espionage. Immediate dismissal recommended. He filed it. Set the effective date for tomorrow morning. Aaron would show up for his shift and find his badge deactivated. Then Spencer opened his email. Drafted a message to 3 board members, the ones he'd been cultivating for months. The subject line read, Confidential, Leadership Transition Framework. The email was careful. No accusations, just gentle suggestions that Gregory was under enormous stress and may not be the best position to lead the company through this crisis. Spencer read it over twice, hit send. He leaned back in his chair, looked at the ceiling, smiled. By tomorrow afternoon, Gregory would be pressured to step aside. Spencer would step in as interim CEO. The investigation would quietly die. The money was already moving offshore, and the only person who could connect any of it, a janitor with a mop and a paperback, would be gone before sunrise. Perfect. Except for one thing Spencer didn't know. At 2:14 a.m., Gregory Caldwell took the service elevator to the basement. The hallway was dim, that same flickering light above the service entrance. The concrete walls felt like a different planet from the 40th floor. Gregory had never been down here, not once in the 12 years since the building opened. He found the break room at the end of the hall, a small room with a plastic table, 2 chairs, a microwave, and a vending machine that buzzed like a dying insect. The overhead light was yellow and tired. Aaron was sitting at the table, thermos of coffee in front of him. The intelligent investor opened to Chapter 8. He looked up when Gregory walked in. Neither of them spoke for a moment. Gregory pulled out the other chair, sat down. The plastic creaked under him. He looked ridiculous. $4,000 suit in a basement break room with vending machine light on his face. "You were right," Gregory said. "The signatures don't match. The overrides came from Spencer's terminal. His credentials, his timestamps." Aaron closed his book, set it on the table. "I know." "How? How do you know any of this?" Aaron took a slow breath. Then he told him. The MBA from Howard. The accounting firm he built from nothing and lost in 2008. His wife Eleanor, who died of cancer in 2014. The janitor job he took because he needed insurance and because sitting at home in an empty apartment was killing him faster than any disease. He told Gregory about 11 years of cleaning Spencer's office. The shredded documents he'd seen, pieces of wire transfer confirmations in the trash that didn't match the company's regular banks, the late-night phone calls Spencer made when he thought the floor was empty, the USB drives hidden behind books on Spencer's shelf that appeared and disappeared week to week. "I'm a janitor, Mr. Caldwell, but I'm not blind, and I'm not stupid." Gregory stared at him, really stared, like he was seeing Aaron for the first time. "Why didn't you say something sooner?" Aaron almost smiled. Almost. "Who was I going to tell? You? Spencer? I'm the mop boy, remember? Who's going to believe the janitor?" Silence. Gregory looked down at his hands. For the first time, the shame on his face wasn't about the money. It was about something older, something he'd never had to think about because he'd never had to. "There's something else," Aaron said. "Jamal Saunders, the kid Spencer fired. He didn't do this. Spencer set him up to take the fall." "I know," Gregory whispered. "Then you know what needs to happen." Aaron leaned forward. His voice was quiet, but it hit like a hammer. "I'll help you. But Jamal gets his job back. And he gets a public apology, not behind closed doors. Public." Gregory nodded. No hesitation. They shook hands across the plastic table. A billionaire and a janitor. Under buzzing vending machine light at 2 a.m. At 3 a.m., they started planning. By 4 a.m., Gregory had called a forensic accountant Aaron recommended, a former colleague from his accounting days. By 4:30, Gregory was on the phone with a federal investigator at the SEC. The emergency board meeting was set for 6 a.m. Spencer Whitfield had no idea what was coming. 5:45 a.m. The sun wasn't up yet. Manhattan was still gray. That cold, early gray where the streetlights haven't turned off, but the sky is starting to change. The 40th floor of Caldwell Tower was already awake. Gregory had showered in the executive bathroom. Fresh suit, clean shave. His eyes were still red, but his hands had stopped shaking. He stood at the head of the boardroom table, a long slab of dark walnut that seated 20. The room smelled like fresh coffee and leather chairs. The board members arrived one by one, 8 of them. Dark suits, tight faces. Nobody was making small talk. They all knew the company was bleeding. They just didn't know from where. Gregory's legal counsel sat in the corner, quiet, taking notes already. At the far end of the table, a woman nobody on the board recognized. Catherine Walsh, forensic accountant, Aaron's former colleague. She had a laptop open and a stack of printed spreadsheets that could bury a man. Next to her, standing against the wall with his arms crossed, a man in a dark blue suit with a government ID clipped to his belt. SEC, Federal Investigator. He didn't introduce himself. Didn't need to. The board members noticed. Glances shot across the table. Something was very wrong. Or very right. They couldn't tell yet. At 5:58 a.m., Spencer Whitfield walked in. He looked perfect. Gray suit, blue tie, hair combed back. He was carrying a leather folder. Inside, his prepared statement for the leadership transition. 3 pages of carefully worded suggestions about why he should take over as interim CEO. He smiled at the board, shook 2 hands, poured himself a coffee, sat down at his usual seat, right side of the table, second chair from the head. He didn't notice Catherine Walsh. Didn't notice the federal investigator. Didn't notice that Gregory wasn't sitting down. "Morning, everyone," Spencer said. "I know this is early. Gregory, you want to kick things off, or should I?" "I'll take it from here, Spencer." Gregory's voice was different, flat, controlled. The kind of calm that comes after you've already made every decision that matters. He pressed a button on the conference phone. A screen on the wall lit up. The first slide was simple. White background, black text. Wire Transfer Authorization Apex, Meridian Holdings. Routing number, discrepancy. Spencer's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. Gregory walked through it. Slowly, methodically. 17 wire transfers. 17 compliance overrides. All from Spencer's terminal. All using Spencer's credentials. All between 10 p.m. and midnight, the hours when Spencer thought nobody was watching. Catherine Walsh took over. She pulled up the shell company registrations: Apex Meridian Holdings, Granite Peak Capital, Dune Harbor LLC, all registered within weeks of each other, all connected to the same offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands and Cyprus. All traceable, through 3 layers of paper, back to a single beneficiary. She turned her laptop toward the table. The name on the screen was Spencer James Whitfield. The room was silent. The kind of silence that has weight. You could hear the ventilation system. You could hear someone's pen touch the table. Spencer set his coffee down. His face hadn't changed yet. The smile was gone, but the mask was still holding. "This is absurd," he said. "Gregory, you're under an enormous amount of stress. I understand that. But pointing fingers at the one person who's been trying to protect this company—" "There's more," Gregory said. He pressed another button. Security camera footage. Timestamp 11:07 p.m. the previous night. Spencer's office. The footage showed Spencer feeding documents into a shredder, one by one, then picking up his phone. The audio wasn't clear, but the federal investigator confirmed they'd already subpoenaed the phone records. Spencer's mask cracked, just slightly, a twitch at the corner of his mouth. His eyes darted to the door. The federal investigator shifted his weight. Spencer noticed. "This is a setup," Spencer said. His voice was tighter now, higher. "That janitor, the one who was snooping around last night, he planted something. You're going to take the word of a janitor over—" The boardroom door opened. Aaron Brooks walked in. Not in coveralls, not with a mop. He was wearing a pressed charcoal suit. Gregory's, slightly big in the shoulders, but it fit well enough. His shoes were polished. His posture was straight. He sat down at the table, pulled a chair right up to the walnut, like he'd been sitting in boardrooms his entire life. Because he had. Once. Spencer stared at him. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Aaron spoke. Calm. Clear. Every word precise. He laid out the financial trail like a surgeon opening a chest. Routing numbers. Shell company formation dates. The correlation between compliance overrides and offshore deposits. The timeline of Jamal Saunders' termination, filed the same week Spencer accelerated the transfers. He used terms half the board had to look up. He cited regulations by number. When he finished, the room was dead quiet. Spencer looked around the table. Every face was stone. No allies, no exit. The man who'd called him Mop Boy 12 hours ago had just dismantled his entire empire in 11 minutes. Aaron didn't gloat, didn't smile. He just closed the folder in front of him, leaned back, and looked at Spencer with the same steady eyes he'd had in that elevator. The power flip was complete. The invisible man was now the most important person in the room. Spencer stood up, fast. His chair rolled back and hit the wall. I don't have to sit here and listen to this. He grabbed his leather folder, buttoned his jacket, walked toward the boardroom door like he still owned the floor. Like the last 15 minutes hadn't happened. Like confidence alone could undo what every person in that room had just seen. He reached for the door handle. The door opened before he touched it. 2 men in dark suits. Federal agents, U.S. Marshals. They filled the doorway shoulder to shoulder. One of them held a folded document. Spencer James Whitfield? Spencer's hand was still in the air, reaching for a handle that wasn't there anymore. You're under arrest. Wire fraud, embezzlement, obstruction of justice. You have the right to remain silent. The rest of the words blurred together. Miranda rights. Hands behind your back, the click of handcuffs, that small, metallic sound that changes everything. Spencer tried one last time, turned his head toward the board. His voice was higher now, thinner. The mask was gone. This is a misunderstanding. I was protecting the company. Everything I did was... Gregory, tell them. Tell them I was trying to... Nobody answered. Not one person at that table opened their mouth. 8 board members, legal counsel, Catherine Walsh, the SEC investigator, all silent, all watching. Gregory looked at Spencer. No anger on his face, just exhaustion. The kind you feel when you realize the person you trusted most was the one cutting your throat. He didn't say a word. The agents walked Spencer out of the boardroom, down the hallway, past the glass offices, past the conference rooms where he'd held 1,000 meetings, past the reception desk where his name was still on the executive directory, into the elevator, down 40 floors. The lobby was empty at 6:30 a.m. Just the security desk and the marble floors and the chandelier light. The same lobby where Spencer had told Aaron to stay out of sight. The same marble Aaron had mopped 10,000 times. Spencer was walked through that lobby in handcuffs. His Italian shoes clicked against the floor. His reflection slid across the polished stone, distorted, broken, disappearing as he moved toward the glass doors. A black SUV was waiting outside. The agents put him in the back seat. The door closed. The SUV pulled away from the curb and merged into early morning Manhattan traffic like it was nothing. Like Spencer Whitfield was nothing. Back on the 40th floor, the boardroom exhaled. The board voted immediately. Unanimous. Spencer Whitfield, removed from all positions. Terminated with cause. All corporate accounts, credit cards, and access credentials frozen, effective immediately. Legal counsel was directed to pursue full civil recovery in addition to the federal case. Gregory stepped out of the boardroom, walked to his office, closed the door. He picked up his phone and dialed a number. It rang 4 times.
Hello? The voice was young, confused. Nobody called Jamal Saunders anymore, not since Spencer had made sure every recruiter in the city knew his name was toxic. Jamal, this is Gregory Caldwell. Silence on the other end. I owe you an apology, not a private one, a public one. What happened to you? What Spencer did to you? I should have seen it. I should have asked more questions. I didn't, and I'm sorry. Jamal didn't speak for a long time. When he did, his voice was cracking.
Mr. Caldwell, I've been living in my car for 2 weeks. I lost my apartment. No one will hire me. My mom thinks I'm a criminal. Gregory closed his eyes. I'm offering you your job back. Full back pay for every month since your termination. And a promotion. Director of Financial Compliance. If you want it. Jamal broke down. The sound came through the phone, raw and unfiltered. Not words, just the sound of a man who'd been drowning, and someone finally pulled him up. Gregory let him cry. Didn't rush him. Didn't fill the silence with corporate language. Just sat there and listened. It was the least he could do. When he hung up, he walked back into the hallway. Aaron was standing by the window, still in Gregory's borrowed suit, looking out at the Manhattan skyline as the sun finally broke above the buildings. Orange light poured across the floor. You saved this company, Aaron. Aaron shook his head, didn't turn from the window. I just told you to check the signatures. Gregory stood beside him, 2 men, side by side, watching the sun come up over a city that never stops moving. For the first time in 18 months, Gregory Caldwell could breathe. The story didn't end in that boardroom, not even close. Within 48 hours, the FBI opened a formal investigation into Spencer Whitfield. The SEC followed. 2 federal agencies pulling the same thread at the same time. And every inch they pulled, the thread got longer. The forensic team started with the 3 shell companies Catherine Walsh had identified: Apex Meridian Holdings, Granite Peak Capital, Dune Harbor LLC. But the deeper they dug, the more they found. 4 more shell companies, registered in Wyoming, Nevada, and 2 in the British Virgin Islands, all connected to Spencer. All funneling money to a network of offshore accounts that bounced from the Cayman Islands to Cyprus to a private bank in Liechtenstein. The total wasn't $40 million. It was $68 million. $68 million stolen over 4 years. Not 18 months, like the initial audit suggested. Spencer had been doing this since his 3rd year as CFO. Slowly, patiently, skimming just enough that the numbers looked like rounding errors, until they didn't. But the money was only part of it. The FBI found something else on Spencer's personal laptop. A folder labeled Personnel Management. Inside, surveillance reports, photographs, background checks, all targeting employees of color at Caldwell Enterprises. Spencer had hired a private investigator, a guy named Russell Crawford out of New Jersey, to dig into the personal lives of any Black or Latino employee he considered a threat. Anyone who asked too many questions. Anyone who climbed too fast. Anyone who might one day sit in a chair Spencer thought belonged to someone else. Jamal Saunders was on the list. So were 3 other employees Spencer had pushed out over the past 4 years. Fabricated performance reviews, invented complaints, quiet conversations with department heads suggesting that certain people weren't the right cultural fit.
Aaron Brooks was on the list too. Spencer had flagged him 8 months ago, not because Aaron had done anything wrong, but because a security guard mentioned that the janitor seemed unusually interested in the executive floor. Spencer's note in the file read, "Monitor, potential liability, terminate at first opportunity." First opportunity came last night. Spencer just didn't know it would be his last act as CFO.
The FBI arrested Russell Crawford on a Tuesday morning. He cooperated within 6 hours, gave them everything: emails, invoices, the surveillance photos, all of it pointing back to Spencer. Then the media caught wind. Natalie Foster at the National Tribune broke the story first. She'd been tipped off by someone inside the SEC. Nobody ever confirmed who. Her headline hit the internet at 11 p.m. on a Thursday night. "The janitor who caught a $68 million thief. How a night shift custodian exposed one of the biggest corporate frauds in New York history." By Friday morning, every major outlet in the country had picked it up. CNN, The New York Times, The Washington Post, Fox Business, MSNBC, everyone. Aaron's face was everywhere. Not the mugshot treatment that black men usually got on the news. A real photo. One Gregory had taken in the boardroom that morning. Aaron, in the charcoal suit, sitting at the walnut table, looking like he belonged there. Because he did. The story went viral in a way nobody predicted. Not because of the fraud. Corporate fraud happens every day. It went viral because of the contrast. The janitor and the billionaire. The mop and the boardroom. The man everyone ignored, and the truth nobody wanted to see. Social media exploded. The hashtag started small. Someone on Twitter posted a clip from Natalie Foster's article with 3 words. Hashtag check the signatures. Within 12 hours, it was the #1 trending topic in the United States. Within 24 hours, it had gone global. People posted their own stories, times they'd been dismissed, overlooked, underestimated because of how they looked or what they did for a living. Janitors, security guards, delivery drivers, nurses' aides, the invisible workforce that keeps everything running while nobody looks. Gregory Caldwell held a press conference 3 days after the arrest. He stood behind a podium with the Caldwell Enterprises logo on the wall behind him. His voice was steady, but you could see the weight on his shoulders. He credited Aaron by name, told the full story, didn't sugarcoat his own failure, how he'd trusted Spencer blindly, how he'd allowed Jamal to be fired without asking a single question, how he'd never once walked down to the basement to learn the name of the man who cleaned his office every night for 11 years. He apologized to Jamal Saunders publicly, on camera, with Jamal standing beside him. Then he turned to Aaron, who was standing off to the side, and said, "This man saved my company, and I almost let him get thrown out of the building for trying." Spencer Whitfield's trial began 14 weeks later. Federal Courthouse, Lower Manhattan. 3 weeks of testimony, 46 witnesses, over 4,000 pages of financial documents entered into evidence. Spencer's defense attorney tried everything. Claimed Spencer was under extreme professional pressure. Claimed the shell companies were investment vehicles that Spencer intended to disclose. Claimed Aaron Brooks was a disgruntled employee who had planted evidence to frame a man he resented. The jury didn't buy any of it. Catherine Walsh's forensic testimony alone took 2 full days. She walked the jury through every transaction, every override, every timestamp. By the time she finished, one juror was shaking her head. Another had his arms crossed and hadn't uncrossed them in 4 hours. Aaron took the stand for 90 minutes. He spoke the same way he spoke in that boardroom. Calm, precise, no drama. He explained what he'd seen over 11 years. The shredded documents, the phone calls, the USB drives. He didn't embellish, didn't need to. When the defense attorney tried to rattle him, "Isn't it true you have no formal authority to review financial documents?" Aaron looked at him and said, "I didn't need authority. I needed eyes." The jury deliberated for 4 hours and 12 minutes. Guilty. All counts. 14 counts of wire fraud, 6 counts of embezzlement, 3 counts of obstruction of justice, 2 counts of conspiracy. Judge Patricia Coleman read the sentence 3 weeks later. The courtroom was packed, cameras everywhere. 22 years in federal prison. Full restitution of $68 million. All assets seized. Judge Coleman added a statement from the bench. She said that what made this case exceptional wasn't just the scale of the fraud. It was the system that allowed it. A system where one man could target employees based on race, destroy careers with fabricated evidence, and steal $68 million in plain sight. Because nobody was looking at the right person, and nobody was listening to the people who were. Spencer was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs. He didn't look at anyone. The doors closed behind him. 6 months later, Aaron Brooks walked into Caldwell Tower through the front entrance. Not the service door around back. Not the gray metal door with the flickering light. The front entrance. Glass doors, marble lobby, chandelier. He was wearing his own suit now, navy blue, nothing fancy, but it fit. The security guard at the front desk nodded. "Morning, Mr. Brooks." Mr. Brooks. Not mop boy, not janitor, not the help. Mr. Brooks. Gregory had offered him a corner office, vice president of internal affairs, 6-figure salary, company car, the whole package. Aaron turned it down, every part of it. "I don't want an office, Gregory. I spent 11 years watching what offices do to people." Instead, Aaron accepted a consulting role. 3 days a week. He reviewed internal financial systems, flagged discrepancies, trained junior analysts on what to look for, not just in the numbers, but in the behavior. The late nights, the locked doors, the shredders running at midnight, the things that don't show up on spreadsheets, but tell you everything. He still came to the building most evenings, old habit. Sometimes Gregory would find him in the lobby after hours, sitting on one of the marble benches with his paperback, reading under the chandelier light like it was the most natural thing in the world. The rest of his salary, every dollar above what he needed to live, went to a scholarship fund at Howard University. The Eleanor Brooks Memorial Scholarship. Named after his late wife. Full ride for first-generation college students studying accounting or finance. 2 students in the first year, 4 the next. Aaron never did a single interview. Natalie Foster called him 11 times. CNN left messages. The Today Show sent a producer to his apartment. He turned them all down. "I didn't do it for cameras," he told Gregory once, sitting in that same basement break room where everything started. "I did it because it was right." Jamal Saunders came back to Caldwell Enterprises on a Monday morning in March. He walked through the lobby with his head up and his shoulders straight. First thing he did was stop at the front desk and ask the security guard where Aaron Brooks's office was. He found Aaron in a small room on the 12th floor. No window, no walnut desk, just a table, a laptop, and a stack of files. Jamal stood in the doorway, couldn't speak for a moment. "You didn't know me," Jamal finally said. "We never met. Why did you fight for me?" Aaron looked at him, took a long breath. "Because I know what it feels like to lose everything and have nobody believe you." Jamal nodded, wiped his eyes, went to work. He was now Director of Financial Compliance. His first project, building a whistleblower protection program so that no one at Caldwell Enterprises would ever have to choose between speaking up and keeping their job. He named it the Brooks Protocol. Aaron told him to change the name. Jamal refused. Gregory Caldwell rebuilt his company. Slowly. Honestly. He replaced half the board, hired a new CFO, a woman named Sandra Ellis, who had spent 20 years at the Department of Justice. He implemented blind hiring practices, created an independent oversight committee, opened the books to quarterly external audits. He and Aaron became friends. Real friends. The kind that doesn't make sense on paper, but makes perfect sense in person. A billionaire and a former janitor. They had lunch every Thursday at a diner 3 blocks from the tower. Aaron always ordered the same thing, black coffee and a turkey club. Gregory always tried to pay. Aaron never let him. Spencer Whitfield sat in a federal detention facility in northern Pennsylvania. His assets? The Zurich condo, the offshore accounts, 3 luxury cars, a yacht he'd never told anyone about, all seized. His name had become shorthand for corporate fraud. Business schools were already writing case studies. The title of one, published by Columbia, was "The Signatures Nobody Checked." He had 22 years to think about what he'd lost. And why. And that's where this story ends.